If you haven't already done so, please silence your phones or any other electronic devices. If you're able to, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The officer's return of this meeting warrant shows that it is properly posted, served, and posted. The moderator's rules have been posted. There's only one change I'm going to go over. I'm not going to read all of the rules. On number 10, there is a little change due to some of the past meetings that we've had. It says that anyone leaving to use the restroom or for whatever reason, once voting begins, shall not be allowed back until the voting is concluded on that article. Basically, it's to limit the amount of movement in here. Certainly, if you need to exit, you can exit anytime you want. Nobody's going to restrain you from that. The point is, when you come back in, if we're in the middle of voting, you're not going to be allowed to come in because you had a vote here, you had a vote there, you have a vote over there. We're trying to eliminate that and resolve that problem. Other than that, that's the only change on the moderator's rules. No. Non-registered voters hasn't changed. Down here to my left, up in the front, it is marked. For people, obviously be on your right, but it's still down here in the front. Thank you very much for your cooperation. A couple of introductions. We're going to just go around real quick. We have had some changes. My name is Derek Hall. I'm the town moderator. I'm going to, yep.
Carol Harris, town clerk.
Tom Harrington, town council.
Diane Haley, chairman of the vice chairman of the select board.
Michael Green, chairman of the select board.
Terry Griffiths, member of the select board.
Herb Zini, the town administrator.
Kelly Pomprion, town accountant.
Adam Lamontagne, assistant town administrator.
Down in front, sure. Please, thank you. See if this comes up. Hello?
Let's go Air Force next.
Okay, there we go. Tony Ebert, chairman of advisory committee.
Anyone other advisory committee?
Tom Smith, advisory committee. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're in some unique times here, okay? We're all in the same boat. I just kind of want to throw something out there before we get started. Please do the best you can to wear your masks at all times, okay? If you're speaking, take your mask off. If you're moving, please try to keep them on. We have obviously sectioned off some of the rows, try to get some social distancing in the best we can. So obviously everybody's in here, but the people that are leaving at the end, make another announcement. We're going to try to do it in an orderly fashion. Again, trying to keep social distancing. Now, we have done several things with regards to cleaning, social distancing, with regards to wearing the masks. Everybody's cooperation is appreciated, okay? We're all here in the same room together, and it's respect for each other. That's what it comes to. Another unique situation, I'm just going to let you know before we get started, we have a special town meeting that is going to occur approximately 6:30 p.m. That is not any type of strategic, political, anything like that. It was simply an error, and that's what I was told to tell everybody. It was a mistake, and to do it legally, we're going to have a special town meeting. So again, roughly around 6:30, we'll adjourn this one. We're not going to end it, just going to adjourn it temporarily. We're going to do one article, get through that, and then come back to the annual town meeting. I just try to explain it now because I think it's a little bit easier to get some of this stuff out of the way, then in the middle of it, or why are you doing this or how are you doing that? So there's no surprises, there's no, again, strategic reasons why, I'm just simply explaining it. There are several other situations we're gonna try to get through tonight the best we can. Hopefully, most efficient as possible. I know the select board and several other members have taken a lot of time trying to consider time on the articles, the venue, everything. So when we try to do things, you can have as much discussion as you want. I support that. If you have the microphone, just use your time wisely, okay? And then secondly, understand, and if you have a question, please ask, but understand the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. Maybe just take a second look at why we're doing it and how we're doing it, instead of just making a motion and deciding on it, okay? That's what we have discussion for. We'll just kind of see how it plays out, but I just want to throw some things out there now, that when the articles are either moved or changed or whatever they may have done, these are the reasons why. Again, I'm just trying to take a second to explain it before it begins, and it's not anything strategic in the middle of the meeting.
Mr. Moderator,
Just one more second. Sorry, I have about 100 different notes here that I'm trying to cover, with people asking me to kind of mention different things. I hope I covered them. If not, I'm sure I'll be told one way or another.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm trying. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Moderator, I just wanted to point out, I'm not sure if you mentioned YouTube or TCTV. Yes, I did. If you did mention it, I missed it. But he is live streaming.
Okay. Yes, I know there's some discussion on it, so if you have more information on it, go ahead.
No, I'm looking at the live stream right now. I'd like to thank TCTV, as they do every meeting every year. They really go the distance, and in accordance with your safety regulations, they've made it possible to have the first live stream of the annual town meeting in the town's history. So thank you to TCTV, and for those that are at home, we're sorry that you couldn't be here. We'll do the best we can tonight. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, that was no small task, given the new server, to get it live streamed. It took a lot of effort.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Moderator?
So just also for your information, he's going to be down here helping with the microphone, cleanliness, all that kind of stuff. The CERT team is also present. I'm sure you've all seen them. We can thank them for their service as well. They've been a great help with setting things up. It's going to continue throughout the night. So if you see this guy get up a couple of times, he's friendly. He's just helping out with the microphone. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Moderator, out of an abundance of caution, in order to keep the curve flattened, I move that we recess this annual town meeting from June 17th, 2020 to August 1st, 2020 at 10 a.m. to take place on the Narragansett football field. Rain date, August 2nd, 2020.
Okay, and Julie, your name is?
Oh, I'm sorry, Julie Farrell, 24 Rose Street.
Thank you.
We knew that, but
So, right, again, that hasn't changed. Everybody with your name and address, okay? That's in writing?
It is.
Okay. Thank you. So we have a motion, we have a second, it's open for discussion.
May I speak to it since I?
You certainly can, go ahead.
Thank you. The reason why I'm putting this forth is I don't really have a preference on the date. I realize June 30th is the end of the fiscal year, July 1st is the beginning of the fiscal year, and that puts a number of different constraints in. The reason why I chose August 1st, which is a Saturday, is to give enough time to post and do everything that needs to be done to get a meeting up and running. It will also give the school committee time to do their part, what they need to do. It would, I think, trigger a 1/12 budget until we have the meeting, if this is successful on August 1st. The reasons for doing that is a lot of people that I know and have contacted me through different methods have stated they would be here tonight. And they're usually here. But they didn't feel comfortable, safe within an enclosed space. They thought it would be better off being done outside. The reason why the Narragansett football field was selected as a location, it is outside. They have graduations out there. They've been able to record and televise and do whatever they need to out there. So I don't think the AV would be as difficult if we tried to do it in a parking lot, if we did it on the football field. Those are my reasons for doing this here tonight, to try to support the people who couldn't be here tonight because of their health. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? However, I will say that the people that are here appreciate you being here, thank you. And the people that aren't here, I understand why you're not here, and it's unfortunate. I understand both sides of it. Yes, go ahead.
Well,
Nobody touches.
I'm Beverly Bartolomeo, I live on South Road, Templeton. Half our select board isn't here, half our advisory board isn't here. You know, every single person that lives in this town that pays taxes deserves to be able to listen to every article and vote on every article. Because they're gonna have to live with all these decisions for whatever time they have left. There are young people that have physical problems that don't feel comfortable. Whether you agree or not, it is what it is. People would have been here if they felt comfortable. So I agree with Julie. I think it's only fair to the people that have supported this town for years that we have a town meeting when everybody can be here. Thank you.
Thank you for the discussion. Yeah, so apparently if you don't touch it, then we don't have to keep on wiping it down.
You didn't touch it? I'm just kidding.
I know.
Tony DeJoy, Minuteman Drive. Well, while I understand the reasoning, and I don't necessarily disagree with the reasoning, I am concerned about the extra work it's going to take at the town hall to prepare or to continue to prepare a 1/12 budget, even if it's for a month. And it's not really a 1/12 budget. It's a month-to-month budget, because you don't sit there and say, if you have $12 million, you can spend $1 million. I think the CERT team and the school have gone to great lengths to get this facility prepared. As far as Board of Selectmen not being here and advisory committee, we've had our pre-town meeting. We know how everybody voted. And I've been authorized to speak for the advisory committee. And I'm also concerned with the additional costs to the town, that these meetings aren't free. So there's going to be probably a couple $1,000s that we're gonna have to find from somewhere, like we did every last year with the school. I don't want the school already has a certified budget. I want to get that taken care of for the town of Templeton tonight. And also, if I'm not mistaken, I did a little research before I came here, you can make a motion to change the date to not, the part of the motion could not be to identify a location. The moderator does that. So, with all that said, I just assume we have maybe a few less people that wouldn't be here for a town meeting, and I know there's a lot of people that are very productive and have their say in the town. I think we need to get this going, get the town
on a budget so we can focus on COVID.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Was I supposed to stay up there so you whack me?
Your learning curve. We need real numbers for one thing, and we don't have them. The DOR, I heard through the grapevine, told the town to have a 1/12 budget. We are not the only town that's gonna have a 1/12 budget. We can't have a budget that's based on what might have been 6 months ago. Because we are gonna get clobbered, maybe not this year, but the next, we gotta get ready. In 1990, whoops, that passed real good, I put my glasses on. We ended up in trouble because the local aid was down 5.1% less than the prior year. People were making $4.25.
Beverly?
What I'm trying to say is,
Beverly, okay,
in order to
So,
bail ourselves out
Beverly,
again,
listen,
we can't.
we're
do
just,
it.
I know, we're discussing the motion. The
Okay.
motion is the date and the location.
Okay, well, what I'm saying is, all these people could have voted at their meeting, but they're not here to vote when it counts. And they have a right to be here. As long as well as the old people that show up every single time. And they didn't show up because they didn't feel safe. And that's not okay.
Thank you. So what go ahead. You can be next one, that's fine, sure. No, you're fine, go ahead. Yep, yep.
Could I, ask for an opinion from the town council about whether location should be in the motion or not?
You certainly can. I was also going to give my opinion as well. I will tell you this isn't just my decision. The decision was made with several other people, okay? Ultimately, this motion is out of order, okay? And what I mean by that is you cannot make a location. That location is determined by the board of selectmen and myself as the moderator, okay? The date or whatever, but the location is here. Prior to this meeting, we had several discussions, several meetings about the date, the time, the location. Let's do it online, let's do it outside, let's whatever. All of those are taken into consideration, okay? Logistically, first of all, the Zoom meeting, as everybody knows it, can't happen. There's no law for it here in Massachusetts. It's, the second one was outside, okay? I believe it was the town of Littleton, they had success. And that's why everybody has this idea, which excellent for Littleton, but they just happened to hit every star aligned perfect. The weather was perfect, the turnout was perfect. You have a rain date on here, I can't guarantee if it's gonna snow that day. I can't guarantee if it's gonna be windy that day. We have concerns about people catching sunburn. I've heard it, okay? I fully understand, I respect it, I'm just letting you know how and why some of these decisions were made under the circumstances. This is the best facility that we have for the circumstances. We have a hard enough time hearing and seeing people here, and now we want to spread them out even further apart on a football field. With the wind blowing in my ear and my papers flying all around, I make a fool of myself as it is. I don't need the wind to help me out, okay? So I'm just trying to explain to you on the moderator side and explain to you the board of selectmen that, we've consulted with, okay? I will let town council speak if he chooses to as well. I just wanted you to know that it wasn't just one decision. That's it. We had, actually, right there in the back of the room is one of our meetings that we had.
All right, I also have a follow-up. I would like to know if the Board of Health was consulted in determining this as location for town meeting.
One second.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want you to understand is there are certain exemptions here for a town meeting, okay? The Board of Health was given a safety plan. They were in part of it, yes, they did have some input. They were invited to the original meeting and a member was not able to show up. And what ended up happening was information was relayed back and forth. So they weren't completely left out, no. Town council also reached out to the Board of Health as well.
I would like to amend my motion.
You also have town council.
Okay, yeah.
Originally, that's what you had asked for, right?
Okay, I did, yeah, let's.
But do you not? It's okay, you can amend it. You don't have to. I'm just asking what you'd like to do.
Well, let's hear from town.
Good evening, Tom Harrington, Town Council, is this working?
Yeah.
So yes, the answer is, town meeting can adjourn a meeting to a date and a time certain, but the location of the meeting is here. So when the warrant goes out, this is the location selected. If we change this location, that can only be done by consultation between the moderator and the board of selectmen.
Okay. So I would like to reserve to amend my motion, please.
Okay, so you'd like to amend
Yes,
this,
you could just strike the football field from that.
okay, and just no location at all.
Well, but you told me I couldn't do that. Isn't that the agreement?
Correct, and that's what he just explained to you as well.
Right. So
As posted,
just
yeah.
take over.
Okay. Sure.
And that the amendment would read, out of an abundance of caution, in order to keep the curve flat, and I move that we recess this annual town meeting from June 17th, 2020 to August 1st at 10 a.m. to take place at the blank. Rain date, August 2nd.
Okay, I scratched it out, sure.
Thank
Further discussion, yes, Mike, yeah. Oh, no, none of that, take your time.
Michael Curry, 491 Hubbardston Road. Julie and Beth, thank you so much for your motion. You're part of our team. You're part of a team that comes to our meetings. Speaking of meetings, this looks kind of like the fall town meeting numbers, but you're part of the team that is a process that culminates at the annual town meeting. We have to have this meeting tonight. If you don't like the term new normal, I know that a lot of people don't like that term. We're trying to keep things as normal as possible given the circumstances. There is no guarantee that we are not going to be back here in August having the same discussions about whether we can hold out or not. I'll go ahead and disclose. I want to make sure I'm addressing some of the things so you can have some kind of degree of understanding. You mentioned older people in town, whether they can, and they traditionally will come to town meeting in more numbers, but you said that they were scared and stayed away. Well, there's a variety of different reasons. I am immunocompromised, and I'm coming because I know what my civic duty is. And speaking of my civic duty, as a elected select board member, we don't do anything tonight other than we're eye candy up on the stage and we read motions. All our work is done. Advisory committee, as Tom had said, they're done. This is all about the people in the audience knowing about the issues, and we can't control the show. I'm glad to see that there are people here tonight so we can actually get non-controversial work done. That's probably my last point.
Thank you. Thank you for the discussion on the motion on the floor. Further discussion? Okay. I don't know if you're going to speak it quickly. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. And it did not pass at 6:24 p.m. Article 1. Mr. Moderator, Article 1. I move to waive the reading and approve the article as published, excepting the phrase "to see if the town will vote to," and the phrase "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Advisory committee.
The advisory committee recommends a yes vote on this article.
Discussion on Article 1. Further discussion on Article 1. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous at 6:25 PM.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Article 2,
Mr. Moderator, I move to appropriate the sum of $147,500.00 for supplemental appropriations to the fiscal year 2020 operating budget as follows. Selectmen, $14,500 for litigation and COVID-19 purposes. Veteran Services, $8,000. Growth in client census. Snow and Ice, $117,500 for FY20 deficit. And Highway, $7,500 uninsured loss. And to meet said appropriation by transfer of said sum from certified cash.
Second.
okay, I have a motion, I have a second. Just 1 second. Can we get Article 2 up there?
Sorry,
No problem. I just want everybody to be able to see it, okay.
double duty, sorry.
No problem. Advisory Committee.
Mr. Chairman, the advisory committee recommends a yes vote on this article. It was 6 in favor, 1 against.
Discussion on Article 2. Further discussion on Article 2? All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous at 6:27 PM. Thank you. Yeah, I know you're reading it all. Thank you. Just trying to be fair. Article 3.
Mr. Moderator, Article 3. I move to waive the reading and approve the article as published, except in the phrase "to see if the town will vote to," in the phrase "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Advisory Committee, yep.
Mr. Moderator, the advisory committee recommends a yes vote on this article.
1 second. Sorry about that. Discussion Article 3. Further discussion Article 3? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Was that a no? Okay. Article 3 passed, 6:28 PM. Article 4.
Mr. Moderator, Article 4. I move to waive the reading and approve the article as published, except in the phrase "to see if the town will vote to," in the phrase "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion is second. Advisory Committee.
Mr. Moderator, the advisory committee recommends a yes vote on this article.
Thank you. Discussion Article 4.
Liz Toth, 141 Gray Road. My concern with the acceptance of this includes accepting the town reports, and I just got the town reports tonight. And I don't think that's fair for us to vote on acceptance of the town reports without having a chance to read them. So,
Okay.
anybody have a comment on that? It's over 200 pages.
We could,
Wait.
I'm sorry, Diane Haley, Select Board.
Thank you.
We could, the town report has been available on the website and also by request, number 1. Or we could move this to the fall town meeting.
personally would prefer at least that part moved to the fall town meeting, so it
Oh,
has a chance.
okay. You need a new motion?
No. We gotta vote on the first motion, whether we're accepting.
Thank you, Lynn. What,
Okay, further discussion on Article 4.
let's give us a second.
You want a second?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to amend the written motion in the voter's guide. And under Article 4, under Section A, it says town accept the reports of the town officers as printed in the 2019 report. You can see on the screen here, item A. I'd like to line through item A. And the written record will reflect a line through item A of Article 4.
Okay, you have that in writing? Or do you just do it for him?
Just like the other one.
So it's an amended motion, and as you can see it up on the screen as well. Remove the reports of town officers, accept the reports of town officers as printed in 2019 town report. Just so we are all on the same page as to what was just on. Further discussion?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, first, what's the requirement for the town to post it for its citizens to read, so it's available to them?
My name is Tony DeJoy.
No, that's good. Sorry, Tony, enjoy your vendor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's,
He wants to know what the process is.
I want to know what the requirement for the town to be able to view it is getting it, I don't think getting it today is proper. But if it's been available online and it's posted, no, I'm not disputing that. Not at all. My question is, how long before should the town get it, and what are the acceptable means for them to get it? Because normally, you get it when you vote, and then it comes up at the fall town meeting. Okay, so my concern is, what is the cost to print these?
I believe I have an answer right here.
Okay,
It's on, it's also.
So the bylaw is built around the normal timelines. I'm sorry. I didn't get scolded. Carter Terenzini, Town Administrator. The bylaw does not conform to these normal timelines. Frankly, republishing it, this one article, we're not republishing the report. We're just having this one article in the fall. And truthfully, just accepting that amendment and allowing the meeting to move on, I think is in everyone's best interests tonight.
well, I don't want to speak for Liz, but she may find something in there that's egregiously wrong and want it changed.
May I speak?
Not yet.
So,
Tony, do you have a question?
yeah, I'd like to know the cost to print them.
The cost of printing these was about $2,800, if I recall correctly. They would not be reprinted in their entirety if they were not accepted. Any changes would be printed and posted online.
Now you can ask a question, sure, come on up. Further discussion or whatever you have.
Hi, so, it's telephone 41 Berry Road. So my point is that 252 pages, reading it online, I think this is excessive for a lot of people. And if the normal process is we get them now, and we have a chance to take a look at them, and we vote on them in the fall. And that's all I'm asking. Because if we accept them now, whatever it says, that's it, it's done.
Mr. Moderator, no problem, I amended my motion.
And, right, I believe the temporary resolution right now is we're scratching that out of, lack of better words, out of this motion, out of this article. Yep. Further discussion on
I
Article
just
4.
wanted to see. I just wanted to.
Further discussion on Article 4.
I agree with you.
All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? So that passed at 6:35 PM.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, will you be recessing for the special town meeting?
Just give me 1 second, yes. Just so we're clear, the motion, similar to what Ms. Farrell did earlier, was her motion. She amended her motion. This is the Board of Selectmen's motion. The Board of Selectmen cannot amend it. So when we voted, it was voted with the amendment in the motion, just so we're clear. And yes, we're going to do the special town meeting. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so yes, at this time, I would accept a motion to adjourn the annual town meeting to go to a special town meeting for this one
I
article.
could go and recess, not adjourn.
So moved.
We don't want to adjourn.
It's adjourned. It's not a recess. Okay. How about this? It's adjourned. Okay? We're going to adjourn the annual town meeting. We're going to discuss this special town meeting. We'll call this one to order. Okay? And then we'll come back to this one.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor of adjourning this annual town meeting? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay, so that's unanimous at 6:38 PM. Okay, welcome to the special town meeting. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Right. So everything still applies. It's still all the same. I'm not going to bore you with everything. Okay. We literally have this one article. Article 1 of the special town meeting.
Mr. Moderator, Article 1, FY 2021 Sewer Department Operating Budget. I move to waive the reading and approve the article as published, accepting the phrase "to see if the town will vote to," and the phrase "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Advisory committee?
The advisory committee recommends a yes vote on this article.
Thank you. Discussion on Article 1.
Mr. Moderator, if I could,
Mike Curry?
Mike Curry, 491 Hubbardston Road. Mr. Moderator, I just wanted to let the people in attendance know that if they are looking for it's on page 33 of your voting guide that you picked up outside to follow along with the numbers for the sewer department. Page 33. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Further discussion on Article 1? Further discussion on Article 1? All in favor of Article 1 signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay, so that's unanimous at 6:39 PM.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move to dissolve the special town meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor of dismissing the special town meeting signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous at 6:40 PM. back to the annual town meeting. Right, we are now on Article 5. Article 5?
Mr. Moderator, Article 5, establishing demand fee under Mass General Law, Chapter 16, Section 15. I move away the reading approved article as published, in the phrase to see if the town will vote to, and the phrase or taking any other action related thereto.
Second.
We have a motion and second advisory committee.
The advisory committee recommends a yes vote. The vote was 4 in favor, 3 against.
Discussion on Article 5.
We're back to page 11. Mr. Moderator, Mike, we're 491 Everson Road. We're back to page 11 in the voter guide.
Page 11, thank you. Yep.
Moderator, this is the Concord Ferry Road. Could I get a summary of the advisory boards for and against as to, or for and 3 against the rationale between the two, please?
Since they're not here, I don't think it, I can tell you people here how they voted. The people that are not here, I don't think I want to say how they voted because I would.
No, I'm not asking how they voted. I'm asking the rationale, the discussion points. I don't want to know how each person voted. I want to know the rationale. 4 to 3 is unusual for the advisory board.
The only thing I would say to that, if I may interrupt, I agree 100%. I don't know if you can talk on behalf of the other ones that aren't here, whether it's the 4 or the 3 that aren't here. Secondly, in the past meetings, we have not discussed who voted which way. And third, I know I'm getting to your point. And third, they've already had a meeting which was open to the public to attend to discuss that article.
Honestly, I don't remember the discussion. It is on a pre-town meeting, 11 June, if you want to be a little bit, look at it. But that meeting is for the people to hear our rationale and our discussion, and it is taped. So I'll be honest with you, I don't remember why people voted for or against.
I was just trying to get, like I said, I don't want to know who voted which way. I don't care. It's just, it was close. And to the moderator in past, yes, we have conversations where they have explained it in the past. So,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Article 5.
Oh, I remember.
Beverly Bartolomeo, Road, Templeton. If you can't afford to pay taxes, people haven't got jobs, businesses are closing. I don't think this is a good time to nail them with any more money than they have to pay already. It's up to you guys, but I don't think that's a good thing. And I think that's why the advisory board, if I remember right, felt that way.
Further discussion?
Tony Joy, Green Drive. Something that I really hadn't considered. I think that this article was meant for people. So if someone can't pay their taxes, I think there's recourse for them to go to those different offices, to contact those offices, and they wouldn't get hit with this fee. This is, I send you a bill, kind of ignore it. Now I have to take time to send another bill. So they're tacking on a fee to that. If someone can comment on whether there are resources that people that can't pay their taxes. Right, they didn't want to push it out.
Okay, it's not a question back and forth on the seats. If we have a question, someone can answer it. Okay, further discussion on Article 5. You don't have to jump off stage if you did. You can, yeah. No. It's okay.
Yeah, don't do that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon.
I believe that that's why they.
Who are you?
Oh, Terry Griffiths, 12 Curry Lane, Select Board. I believe that's why they
made it for July 2021 instead of this.
Okay, further discussion, Article 5. Further discussion, Article 5? All in favor of Article 5, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
Article 5 passed at 6:46 p.m. Article 6.
Mr. Moderator, Article 6, sale of Baldwinville Elementary School. I move to waive the reading and approve the article as published, accepting the phrase to see if the town will vote to, and the phrase will take any other actions related there.
Second.
Thank you. Motion second. Advisory Committee.
Advisory Committee recommends a yes vote on this article.
Discussion, Article 6.
Hi, Jim from Masala, 51 Pleasant Street. I guess the question I have is, the first sale would be 50 units. My question is, has anybody looked into this company that's going to be building these and see what kind of history they have? Meaning, I know that the apartments over in Gardner by Salvador Motors is pretty bad there. And not saying that we're gonna get bad people or whatever, but I mean, I had a son-in-law, my stepson lived there, and you'd go over there and you'd see people with needles in their arms, needles on the ground. So I'm just kind of looking to see what kind of reputation this construction company's gonna have to bring in these apartments. And then it says also that you're looking to sell other land to another developer. The same thing. Is there gonna be any type of looking at that versus just saying, yeah, hey, 500,000 is great, but what's it gonna bring with it?
Can somebody answer his question?
It's discriminatory. Do you want to take that or do you want to talk? It's discriminatory.
Mr. Moderator, I just wanted to point out that Selectwoman Haley was on the screening committee, so she can offer any select board information as well, but the town administrator can address your concerns.
Sure.
Yeah, what part of?
Okay. Mike Carter.
Carter Terenzini, Town Administrator. We did look into the background of this firm. They were spoken well of by the contacts at DHCD, Department of Housing and Community Development, and they were spoken well of by the officials in West Bridgewater, where they have just started construction on a project, and other checks appeared quite suitable. With respect to selling another parcel of town land to another developer, that is not on the table at this point in time. We do not have another parcel of land of town-owned property identified at this point in time, but we want people to be aware that we are attempting to find private lands that they might be interested in purchasing. So the only thing on the table at this point in time is the sale of this land, the front parcels, and then part of parcel 407. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, if we had exact, what structures or however you want to say apartment buildings they already had that, as residents, we can look it up ourselves and see where they are and stuff like that versus just taking somebody's word for it that gave it to you, what I mean?
They are online. You'll be able to. This gives the select board the authority to sell the property. They have not made that final vote as of yet. We are in the process of negotiating what's referred to as a developer designation agreement. That will spell out all of the terms that they must meet. That will go online. You'll have an opportunity to see that, to read that, depending upon how the COVID event continues to go. You may have to participate via emails or Zoom, or you may be able to come to a physical meeting, but you will have another opportunity to speak to the select board on a much more defined set of conditions that are here tonight. This simply allows them to get the process going.
But this
And as
gets
I
the
say,
process
you have
going with them, right?
Pardon?
This gets the process going with this particular company.
Yes, it does.
So it's like,
Actually, if you believe after having checked it, that you're not satisfied with the company, if you believe that the developer designation agreement is not providing sufficient protections for the property, for the town, you'll be able to make that known to the select board. I'm sure they'll send us back to renegotiate or do something else. I will tell you that not voting on this tonight would, should you decide you like MPZ, imperil their development schedule, and we are scheduled to receive $500,000 in sale proceeds. So
it's already scheduled, so the vote.
they have your authority. They then negotiate the final agreement with the developer. That is in process now. Town council, myself. That is then presented to the select board in a much more defined detail, and you would have the opportunity to speak in opposition or in support or in concern of a particular paragraph that you think should be changed.
And the last question I kind of have is, how is this going to affect the school budget down the road? If these 50 apartments and there's, say, 2 to 3 kids in each apartment.
What I would say is, that's not on the article. However, Carter, if you want to give him a quick response, I would like to stick with the article. It has nothing to do with the school budget. Okay, that's fine, but I will allow just a quick.
Actually, we are what we call hold harmless right now, which means our student population is where it should be. So how it would play out completely, it's way too early to tell. It depends upon the student population, how many move out, how many move in. And frankly, if we pop up a certain number of students that I can't remember, 75 plus or minus, we actually move into a different category of state aid. So it could do nothing to the school budget. It could actually be good for the school budget. I can't tell you any great detail today. I'm sure the superintendent would be happy to arrange some time to tell you the particulars of that. And we could have that discussion between now and when the final development agreement is presented to the select board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Further discussion, Article 6.
Beverly Bartolomeo, South Road, Templeton. I understand what you're saying, but you also have to understand that there is nowhere to live in this town if you don't want to live in a house. People my age and older, some younger, want to stay in town. They've lived here their whole life. They don't want to leave. I think this group did the Athol School. You go by there, it's beautiful. There's nobody hanging out. I think that this is something we need. I think it's going to be good for the town, and it's going to be good for the people that live here. It's not going to be an old English village. But you have to watch the meetings that they have on my friend's CT Templeton television, because a lot of your questions will be answered. I know sometimes people get a little carried on, but basically you get a lot of information. So I would vote for this because I think it's a good thing.
Thank you. Further discussion, Article 6. Further discussion, Article 6. I will tell you, this does have to pass by a 2/3 vote. All in favor of Article 6 signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No. It did pass by 2/3 at 6:55 p.m.
Mr. Moderator? Yes. I move to consider Articles 7 through 12 upon concluding Article 24 this evening.
Second.
sorry about that. I have your motion, so it's Article 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, a second advisory committee.
The advisory committee has no recommendation at this time.
Just to explain it to everybody, what we basically want to do is move 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, okay, upon the conclusion of Article 24. So we're basically just kind of putting it back here. It is open for discussion. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, so that passed at 6:57 PM. Article 13.
Mr. Moderator, Article 13, Sewer Capital Project for FY 2021. I move to waive the reading and approve the article as published, excepting the phrase "to see if the town will vote to," and the phrase "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion second, advisory committee.
The advisory committee vote recommends a yes vote on this article.
Discussion Article 13. Further discussion Article 13. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That passed at 6:58 PM. Article 14.
Mr. Moderator, Article 14, Fiscal Year 2021 Cable Department Operating Budget. I move to waive the reading and approve the article as published, excepting the phrase "to see if the town will vote to," and the phrase "or take any action related thereto."
Second.
Motion and second, advisory committee.
Advisory committee recommends a yes vote on this article.
Discussion Article 14. Further discussion Article 14. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Mr. Moderator.
All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? That's unanimous at 6:59 PM. Sorry, we're not going to do that in the middle of the vote. Do you have a comment or question, or you're all set? Okay, thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Moderator, I move that Articles 15 through 18 be considered in one motion, and those articles be hereby adopted as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Have a second? Advisory committee?
Advisory committee has no recommendation.
Just a little quick explanation as to what's going on here. We're going to put 15, 16, 17, and 18 all together in one motion. If someone has an issue with one of the articles, just simply say hold, okay? So again, I'm going to start with 15, 16, 17, and 18.
Mr. Moderator.
Okay, now open for discussion.
Okay, not a discussion, so, the reason the advisory committee didn't have a recommendation on bundling them is because we didn't know what's gonna happen, so we couldn't discuss it at the pre-town meeting. I can tell you that on Articles 15, 16, 17, and 18, the advisory committee recommended a yes vote on each of those articles.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Don't jump off that stage.
I was just moving quickly. I was gonna catch
You can catch him. Okay. Michael catch him.
Mike Curry, Ford, Mike Curry. Mike Curry, 491 Overton Road. Mr. Moderator, just a quick description of this is action. This is called, you see on the screen, a consent agenda, which is used widely throughout our Commonwealth. And it takes non-controversial articles, especially in the case of the advisory committee voting yes on them, and bundles them together so we can save some time. And that was the issue that the advisory committee and the pre-town meeting had. So again, we worked very well with the committee stakeholders to be able to come up with a way to increase safety and still get the town's business accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay, so that's unanimous at 7:02 p.m. Mr. Curry, all set? Okay. Article 19.
Mr. Moderator, Article 19, setting the salaries of elected town officials. I move to waive the reading and approve the article as published, accepting the phrases the town vote to, and the phrase or any other action related thereto, and correcting the years 2020 to 2021.
Second.
Motion second, advisory committee.
Mr. Moderator, originally the advisory committee was gonna ask for division of these for vote. However, since essentially we voted to recommend these, but I do want to explain that. For the town clerk's salary, we voted in 7-0 in favor. There was a motion made to recommend no vote for the Board of Selectmen. However, there was only 2 in favor and 5 against that. And sewer commission was voted in favor, 7-0.
Thank you. You just relayed the results from the previous meeting. That wasn't yours. Understood. Further discussion? Further discussion on Article 19?
Beverly Bartolomeo, South Road, Templeton. I understand why, I saw the discussion and I understand why they wanted to take the selectmen's pay out. We have had selectmen that show up and then don't show up at all. So do you pay them in the beginning so that they walk out the door with $500? Or do you pay them at the end and then what do you base it on? There is not going to be $500 to pay these people after all this covert thing goes. The funding is not gonna be there. If you're gonna pay the selectmen, you should pay everybody else. We have gone this route so many times in this town. And I really think if they want to do the article like this, I would say no. And then take it up at the fall town meeting. That's my estimation.
1 second, please. Right, that's right.
Advisory committee, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Was there further discussion? Okay, sure.
We did.
Beverly, thank you for that comment. As you know, that was quite the discussion, but I think most of us felt that there are, for the majority of the Board of Selectmen, there's a lot of work, a lot of hard work, and a lot of extra hours, and essentially volunteer hours. I'd also like to let you know, or the town know, that we did ask the town moderator, the town administrator, to get with town council to see if we could come up with some type of criteria that they get paid upon, like 10 to 80% of meetings. That's just because we agree with you. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Yes. Catherine Fulton Bridge Street. I want to say it's about time we pay our town clerk what she's worth. In fact, it's probably worth a lot more than that, but at least it's something. Board of Selectmen, I think they should be paid. The sewer commission, I'm not sure what their duties are, but I know that the Board of Selectmen are a member, obviously, according for the advisory board at one time, and I incurred various expenses, as well as there was a payment for the position, although ordinary members of the advisory board were not paid. What happened was it was prorated, and the person who was treasurer at the time, although I did eventually get paid, the person put me through hell. So I figure, I know that I've done some teaching at various Harvard College, University, Harvard University, being one of them. And what they always do is that halfway through the term, they pay you half, and then they pay the rest at the end of the term. And I can't see the reason why we can't do that with selected. In other words, pay them half through statutes that recommend attendance, that identify the attendance record that's required in order for a select person to remain on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Mr. Curry, do we have a typo that you did correct? We're all set. Okay, just want to check. Further discussion, Article 19. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
So that passed at 7:08 p.m. Article 20.
Mr. Moderator, Article 20, fiscal year 2021 general fund operating, otherwise known as the OPEX budget. I move to appropriate the sum of $9,853,839.00 for the operations of general government for fiscal year 2021, and to meet said appropriation with a transfer of $270,000.00 from the ambulance receipts reserved for appropriation, anticipated receipts, and the balance from taxation.
Second.
Motion second. Advisory committee.
The advisory committee voted 4 in favor, 3 against. So it's a recommended yes vote.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Just a recommended yes.
I didn't hear you. I know, put it back on. I apologize.
So ours is a recommended yes vote.
Sorry about that. Now for discussion. I believe she's first. You can be second, sir. That's okay. Yep, just stay right there.
Still Elizabeth, still 141 Gray Road. I really have a concern about taking $200,000 out of the ambulance receipts fund, because the way it was originally set up, that money was supposed to be used specifically for things in the EMS world. And we continually take money out of that account. And then we've had, going back like 2 years at this point, and we almost lost the ambulance. So I just don't think it's right to be taking money into that. Can I, that's it.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Mark Barrios, 75 Wilson Road. I really have a question. I noticed that line 420 snow and ice, it's $145,000. I believe it was higher in fiscal year 2020 budget, and I think if we lower it, we might jeopardize our ability to deficit spend? Is that still the case?
So I don't know if the superintendent or the town administrator, sure, somebody, 1 second, so I'll get you an answer.
The actual the authority to deficit spend is based upon the original appropriation amount. And you are correct, every year must be the same or slightly higher than the prior year. For fiscal 2020, we appropriated $142,500. So as long as we appropriate the same amount of money, $142,500 or higher.
It says 147,500.
The original appropriation bills alone.
So just so you know, if everybody else can hear you, did you say it was 147?
Yeah.
No, just use microphone, they can't hear you, that's all.
Yeah, but
That's
remember,
all.
the report for FY19.
On page 169 of the town report, an amount is 147,500.
Okay. Then double check on that right now. Yep, let's put your answer 1 second.
167, did you say? Yeah, remember that these numbers are from FY19.
According to the town accountant's original appropriation was 142,500.
Oh,
It's possible, so we have two ways to fix this. One is we'll confirm it, and I believe that the town accountant, somewhere there's a mistake there. We can simply adjust the budget internally to the 147,500 if that's the desire of the meeting, or we can correct it at the fall town meeting. But I am comfortable at the 145 based on what the town accountant has just told me.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, further discussion?
Thank you for that correction. The report that you're looking for is actually for fiscal year 2019, sir.
Joseph, they can't hear you, that's all. If you could use the microphone.
The town report, I believe, and I'm looking at it, says it was held May 15, 2019. That would be for the 2020 budget. It says in the column, FY20 budget.
Yes, sir. I'm going to suggest an amendment to the chairman here that can sexually use.
Good catch. Wow. Sliding boards about.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I'd like to amend my motion to change line 420 snow and ice to the 147,500. And I'm also amending line 900, insurance and benefits, to 2,447,500.
And I will amend my second.
Okay, a second.
Just initial, yeah, so.
Further discussion on Article 19, 20.
Beverly Bartolomeo, South Road, Templeton. I think voting for this budget is a colossal mistake. One we will pay for a long, long time. You know, in 1990, we got our state aid cut 5.1%. People were making $4.25 an hour. You know what it took us to bail our ass out of that mess? We never did. We were in trouble until 2003. We used $554,253 in certified free cash in 1990. We used $50,000 worth of money from the electric light company. They used to actually help the town. We also took $111,700 from the light operating budget to bail ourselves out. We, as a town, didn't get back on our feet. We should have one health budget so we know what we are getting in for lottery aid, for meals tax, and what the state is going to give us. Until we know that, this budget was made up when? Patty, when did you make this budget up?
I've been working on it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, Beverly.
But it was before this covert thing happened. You're going to have people that aren't going to be able to pay their taxes. We are in for a row. It's my feeling that we should not vote for this. We should do a 1/12 budget. And if you do, then you're going to have to live with the results. And they're not going to be pretty.
Further discussion.
Yes.
And you know what, instead of getting up and down, you guys can either use that one or use this one, that's fine. We don't have to go all the way down to that. If you want to say if you're a citizen or if you're representing the board or whatever, you can announce that, that's all. So you guys don't have to go back and forth, that's all.
Diane Haley, and I represent the board. This board has worked very hard on this budget, and for the time that I've spent on this board, especially the last few years with Carter Terenzini, we have a formula. We throw out the high, we throw out the low, and we use reasonable numbers. And that is the way that it is. We feel very comfortable with this budget. We've looked at COVID, we know what we're doing, and it is right to vote yes for this budget. I stand behind it, this board stands behind it, and we have looked at COVID. So that's the way that that is. And I urge you to vote yes for this budget.
Thank you, further discussion.
I heard Beverly Bartolomeo, I heard you explaining to Terry about the high, the low, and what we throw out. That doesn't make a damn bit of difference, because if you don't have revenue coming in from the state, you're gonna go nowhere fast. And the T is $400 million in a hole. We are gonna get nothing from the state because nobody's gonna pay their taxes because nobody's open. And it's not gonna get better next year. The next 2 years after that are gonna be rough. We've been there, done that. And I am just trying to stop us from getting into a hole. There were what, 3 people on the advisory board that voted no, because they know too.
Thank you, further discussion.
Amanda Susie, Memorial Street. Can someone either from the board or the TA remind us what the buffer is that's built in?
So, Carter Terenzini, Town Administrator. Town Administrator. So we've looked at this very closely. I want to point out this is not the first time that the town has adopted a budget with uncertainties. There have been numerous years in which state aid was not known until July and August. Last year, we did not know what the school budget was going to be. We believe that this budget, based upon some revenues that have actually proven to be substantially better, could absorb a reduction of state aid of 10% without any impact whatsoever. Further impacts would have to be right-sized at the fall town meeting, and we're working on strategies to do that. The challenge of monthly budgets is you must adopt them month by month, have the board vote on them, have DOR certify them. There's a substantial work effort and the like. The process of right-sizing the budget in the fall has been used on numerous occasions. We're keeping very careful look on it. And I have to urge you to adopt these financial articles tonight, especially when we get to the school budget. They provide a degree of certainty. We constrain the expenses during the first several months. We have an eye on what's going to happen. We honestly don't know what's going to happen. Will the state use its rainy day fund? Will Senator Kennedy's proposal that any of the so-called CARES money that is not used, we have 718,000 give or take we're eligible for, yet we've only been able to assemble a request of 300,000 plus or minus between us and the school district. Senator Kennedy's proposed that any monies left over in the CARES Act be reprogrammed to states, cities, and towns for revenue losses. The HEROES Act, don't know it'll pass, provides $3 trillion to help the economic recovery of states. We don't know what's going to happen there. So Ms. Bartolomeo is quite right in saying there's a degree of uncertainty. I've been doing this for a while. This is the most disruptive economic event we've ever experienced in our lifetime, as was the recession of 78 to 79, the recessions of 81 to 83, the recessions of 91 to 93, 2003, and 2008. I would hope that you would place trust in the board and in the staff to keep constant eye on this, and as we did last year, right-size that budget through a process that might lead up into the fall town meeting, but allows the business of the organization to go forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further discussion on Article 20? Further discussion on Article 20?
We just got our bond rating. He wants to use free cash. We have done that for years. That's why we're always broke. We were broke when we had money. How do you think we're gonna be now? The CARES Act. You know, you're counting your chickens before they hatch. What if this cohort in the last 2-3 years? Where's the money gonna be? You're gonna use what CARES Act is for. I'm telling you, do what you want, but you're gonna pay the price in the end. We still have to pay for the rest of the school. We don't have a bond rating again. Where are you gonna be? I think the DOR told him to do a 1/12 budget for a damn reason. Other towns are in the same boat. I don't have faith in anything. Do what you want, but I've been there and done it. I have watched this town be in a hole for 40 years because we made bad decisions. And I am so sick of it. Before I die, I'd like to see us at least be able to hold our head up, and not be broke all the time. Whatever.
Thank you. Further discussion? Tony, I believe you're next.
Yep, good. Tony, Jerry, Internet Drive. I'd like to point out that, I didn't start coming to town meetings except for a few years ago. When Mr. Terenzini took over as town administrator, we were in terrible financial shape. That's true, right? No doubt about that. We had like zero in stabilization. Well, we have about $750,000 in stabilization that grows every year. We didn't have a bond rating. We got I think it was a BBA bond rating, and now we got a much better bond rating. I think we're the third highest that you can go. And I think that's a credit to Mr. Terenzini's team and the Board of Selectmen on looking at the budget, making sure we have the money to do that. They knew we were going to have the school. And what does that do? It saves us money. So when we go out and borrow money, we don't pay as much interest. So you can't say that we're having issues, yet the town is in a much better financial position than it's been in years. And
It doesn't last.
no, nothing lasts. But how long is this COVID going to last? Nobody knows. That's why, in respect to Julie, picking a date of August 1st, we don't know what it's going to be like that. So I just think that they do a good job. They're paid to do this. So I think we have to put a little bit of faith in their education and their methods to come up with a budget that the town can live with.
Thank you. Further discussion? Article 20. Further discussion, Article 20? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
Article 20 passes at 7:28 p.m. Mr. Moderator? Yes, go ahead, sorry.
I move that Articles 21 and 22 be considered in one motion, and those articles be hereby adopted as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Motion and second, advisory committee.
The advisory committee recommended a yes vote on both articles.
Thank you. People, just so you understand, there's no difference. We did the other one with, what was it? Several articles all in one, this is just two. So again, I will say Article 21, again, hold, or Article 22, hold. And this is open for discussion. Go ahead, sir. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Tom Gelman, South Main Street. I just have a question on the police item. Four-wheel drive truck, ACO, what's that all about, sir? And 25,000 doesn't seem like much for a truck.
So I think I can answer it, however, I will have. That is not a four-wheel drive truck for the police department, if that's what you're asking.
Sorry?
It's not a four-wheel drive truck for the police department, if that's what you're asking. That's for ACO. ACO falls under the jurisdiction of the chief of police. They needed a truck. Does that answer your question?
25,000 for this truck?
That's the number. I'm just trying to explain it to you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. You, sure.
ACO, excuse me, Carter Terenzini, Town Administrator. ACO is Animal Control Officer. We are in a joint agreement with Winchendon. It is our responsibility under that agreement, in addition to making certain payments, to provide this vehicle. It is not, it may turn out to be a used vehicle, as we did in your department, I think, a year or two ago, Tom.
Thank you.
Further discussion?
Liz Toth, 141 Gray Road. The cruiser for $52,500. Every year, the police department ends up with a new cruiser. And I see cruisers sitting there all the time. And given the uncertainty of the budget, and given the uncertainty of what's going to happen, I really think this year the police department needs to forego another new cruiser. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
She was.
She was standing up, raising her hand to talk. Point of order.
Opposed?
No.
Okay,
That doesn't count any extra.
okay, so that passed at 7:31 PM. When I say further discussion twice,
She was
even if
standing up
it's,
with her hand raised.
okay, thank you. I'll do that part. When I say it twice, that gives ample time. I look out there. Okay. That motion passed at 7:31 PM.
I move to reconsider, please, Article 21.
They're bundled, yeah.
I move to reconsider Article 21, 22.
Okay, I need you at the microphone first of all. You have to identify yourself.
Mr. Moderator, I move that we reconsider Articles 21 and 22. And a point of order, Mr. Moderator, if you could please look up before you go to vote to make sure no one's trying to stand. Thank you.
Any second?
Okay. Further discussion on the reconsideration? Oh, I'm sorry, you're absolutely correct. Do we have a second on the reconsideration?
Second.
We have a second. Now it is open for further discussion. Okay, now I guess you, yes.
Kate Templeton, Bridge Street. All I wanted to ask was about the street signs. I drive around, well, I used to, wait, now I just stay home, but I used to drive around Massachusetts quite a bit, and I've noticed street signs in other towns. Red on white, white on red, green on white, green on red, etc. I'm just wondering what the color sign will be to these street signs. I noticed that some are easier to read than others. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know the superintendent or somebody qualified to talk about the street signs. Sure.
Good evening, Bob Silvick, DPW Director. The signs are gonna stay green with white lettering. There was a state change in size back in 2008. Unfortunately, Templeton's been behind on getting those updated. As we speak today, this week, we've been updating the signs. If you right out here on Wallenville Road, you'll see them. We're working our way towards Templeton Center. We're only did so much each year, so we're doing a little bit at a time. The total overall cost is in the $80,000s of dollars. So that's replacing the sign, all the hardware, brackets, posts, breakaways. So you're gonna start seeing the town looking pretty sharp, especially along the road. That's a plan that's in play. It's gonna pay off. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Yeah.
Gail around Winchester Street. I see a lot of roof repairs on here, and I was just wondering if the senior center roof is in the budget anywhere?
So again, I don't see that on the motion. However, if you might give a quick, very quick, maybe response, I'll allow that to happen.
Carter Terrazzini, Town Administrator. The full replacement of the senior roof will be in the neighborhood of $250,000. We do not have the monies based upon other capital needs. So the superintendent has been working on making repairs as he can, maintenance monies and some monies set aside for capital improvement of the building. We do hope to be due within the next few years to fully replace that roof, but it's not in the budget or proposals for fiscal 2021.
Thank you. Further discussion? Further discussion? Just so everyone's clear, to be fair about it, there's a motion on the reconsider. Okay? So we're gonna vote, and if you vote yes, that is voting to reopen and re-talk about these articles. And if you vote no, then the original vote stays the same. Just so everyone is clear. It's kind of backwards. Okay? All in favor signify by saying yes. Opposed?
No.
Okay. The motion to reconsider did not pass at 7:37 p.m. Okay, 23, Article 20.
Mr. Moderator, Article 23, Montechusett Regional Vocational Technical School. I move to waive the reading and approve the article as published, accepting the phrase "to see if the town will vote to" in the phrase "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion second, advisory committee.
The advisory committee recommends a yes vote on this article.
Thank you. Further discussion, Article 23, I'm sorry, 23. Further discussion, Article 23? All in favor of Article 23 signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? So that's unanimously passed at 7:38 p.m. Article 24.
Mr. Moderator, Article 24, Narragansett Regional School District. I move to waive the reading and approve the article as published, accepting the phrase "to see if the town will vote to" and the phrase "or take any other action related thereto."
Second.
Motion second, advisory committee.
The advisory committee recommends a yes vote, 5 in favor, 2 against.
Further discussion, Article 24. Further discussion, Article 24. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
So that passed at 7:39 p.m. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Moderator, I move that Articles 7 through 12 be considered in one motion, and those articles be hereby adopted as printed in the warrant.
Second.
I have a motion second, advisory committee.
The advisory committee at our meeting voted to pass over these articles, but it was for time, so we did not have a recommendation on any of these articles.
Okay, this is similar to the other ones that we've done. If somebody has an issue or whatever, simply say hold. Okay, Article 7. Article 8. Okay. And may I ask, is it just a question or is it discussion?
I really want all of these done individually and insight of the really put them up for the first one. These should be held over for the fall town meeting.
Okay. Elizabeth, can you just come up and use the microphone? Just.
Liz Toth, 141 Gray Road. I believe all these should go over to the fall town meeting. I don't think we should be discussing them tonight, I don't think we should be passing them tonight. Thank you.
But you have to write a motion. You would have to write a motion, like, all in favor individually.
And let me just explain the reason why is because the advisory board did not take any kind of action nor provide any kind of recommendation. So if you need a motion to lay all this aside, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so let me explain, if I may, Mr. Moderator.
We're in discussion, go ahead.
The advisory committee, because of COVID, thought that these were non-financial articles. Therefore, we thought that they could wait till the fall town meeting. It wasn't taking away the importance of them. We just felt that as a collective body, that these could wait until the fall town meeting. We're here. They want to do them all at once. We actually were in agreement of all of them. If I recall, it's just that they weren't financial articles. That was our rationale.
But there wasn't an official recommendation made by the advisory board.
Well,
Given the
ours
other
was to
problems-
pass over. Our official recommendation was to pass over, but after doing some studying, the real thing should have been to table them. If you pass them over, they go away. If you table them, then at the fall town meeting, they can be brought off the table.
No, they can't.
Yes,
I'll show you where, once the town meeting is closed, it's closed. I'll show you when the books were.
They told me, I discussed this with town council,
So
My intent is for us to discuss and agree on these at the fall town meeting. That's my intent.
that's what you wanted, was move them to the fall town meeting.
Yes.
Whether it's pass over, whatever you want.
Whatever words you
Right.
want, I don't care. I think this deserves a larger audience to be able to have this conversation than the folks that are here presently. And we've had problems with other articles in the past recently. I mean, bylaws.
And ultimately, that's what the motion is for. You can vote for this motion, or you can vote against the motion.
Excuse me, I thought to take them in the entirety, that we either agree to all of them or we don't. I thought that's what the motion said.
So, again, Tom Harrington, town council. So yes, this is a motion to take all these articles and vote on them with a single vote. So if you are opposed to all these motions, your no vote is a vote against all these motions. If you would prefer to take no action on them, you can move to postpone all these articles indefinitely. And if you get a majority vote, town meeting will move on. Town meeting can come back to those later on in the meeting if it so chooses. So it's maybe a temporary postponement, it may be a permanent postponement, but in many ways it functions the same way as a no vote.
All right, well, as I said, the advisory board advised to pass over them, so thank you.
But that was before that they.
That's what your official paperwork says, so that's what we're going to do.
Further discussion?
You're right.
Amanda Suzie, Memorial Street. I move that we postpone this matter until the fall town meeting.
Yes, I have that.
Okay, so Amanda, first of all, I need it right. If you want to make any kind of motion or amendment.
Ms. Moderator, how would you refer to this motion?
Listen, I'm not for or against. Maybe you could ask somebody else, but
What do you want me to call it?
Motion,
Yeah, I make a motion
You're not allowed
to.
to advise
I didn't, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Nope, we're not.
Robert's rules say that.
Sorry for the confusion, I didn't try to be fair or whatever. The motion that was presented to me in writing, I move that we postpone the motion for Article 7 through 12 indefinitely. Do we have a second? Second, okay. Now, what is open for discussion is this motion in front of us. So if we have further discussion,
Mike Dixon, 465 Patriots Road, Templeton Center. I'm not in favor of setting this aside or putting this off. Looking through it, it's all housekeeping, word changes, days to do jobs. There's nothing of any real significance there. I would suggest we do not accept putting it off, and then when we go back to the main question, vote in favor.
thank you. Further discussion. Go ahead, sir.
Mark Burial, 75 Rolston Road. I'd just like to remind people that 1 year ago, we approved codified bylaws, which eliminated the town's solid waste bylaw, and nobody seemed to know it. So we just approved it. And then we had to have a special town meeting in January, and we re-implemented that town bylaw. So these things are not just routine housekeeping type things. A lot of times, some language can get slipped in there or removed, and it might not be what people want. So look at them carefully before you approve them.
Thank you. Further discussion.
Tony DeJoy, Chairman of Advisory. When we look at this, especially the advisory, we've worked long and hard with the Board of Selectmen and the TA to change the advisory committee bylaw to make sure. About 3 or 4 years ago, a previous Board of Selectmen tried to change the bylaws of the advisory committee without even talking to them. I think Ms. Beverly will remember that. And I spoke up at town meeting because I didn't think that's right. So then the next year I became a member of the advisory committee, and we worked long and hard to make sure our bylaws are there so we have the authority within the town to speak for the town, to give recommendations to the town. We passed over it here because we had passed over everything. That was the only reason, because that was kind of hard for us to say, we should pass over it. I'm to a point, we should just vote on all yes and go. Thank you.
First, thank you. Further discussion. Go ahead.
Mike Curry, 491, speaking as resident.
Thank you.
I would vote no for prolonging this and sending them to be canceled indefinitely. We're almost done. These are all good things for the town, all good things, not money related, They correct things, they do the things that the staff needs. We're almost done. You hang in there for a few more minutes to get this done. All of that business is we move forward with. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Further discussion? What we are voting on is the motion in hand. I move that we postpone the motion for Article 7 through 12 indefinitely. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
That did not pass at 7:51 p.m. Okay, we're back to the original motion. Further discussion? Go ahead. Bridget, yep, in a second, that's fine. Go ahead, sir. Yep.
I don't know if I'm out of order, but I just want
On
to
the
ask.
microphone, please, just so they can hear you back.
I don't know if I'm out of order, I just have a question about Article 10.
Is it what?
About Article 10?
No, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Okay. Yeah, on Article 10, I'm just wondering if it changes the name of the Board of Selectmen to Select Board. Yes. It does. I don't like that because they aren't selects, they're selectmen.
No, we have some ladies on there, I think that they might find that,
So they call them selects?
but it says Board of Select.
Select person? It says Select Board. Okay, just.
The only thing, since you mentioned Article 10, does have to pass by a 2/3 vote. I will make that known now as well.
Okay.
Liz, who's next?
I like the tradition.
I'm not politically correct.
Okay, this time, 141 Gray Road. I'm discussing Article 7, which I believe is in play. The town administrator shall act by and for the board in any matter which the board may assign the town administrator. This makes the town administrator sound more like a town manager, and we do not have town management. It's a town administrator and it works for the board and not, basically on his own.
So I'm just trying to get Article 7 up there that you're discussing.
Right, so town administrator shall act by and for the board.
Or any matter that they assign.
Okay. Is it a state question? Do you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, it's sounding more like a town administrator more like a town manager than a town administrator. And I want to make it quite clear that it's the town administrator, cannot make decisions independently of the board. And it sounds like he may be able to do that.
I'm not exactly sure of the question, but if you want to talk
My
about it.
question is, does it give him more authority than he currently has today?
There's a question.
I don't need time, I do not wish to hear from Mr. Terrazini, because it's about his position, I need to hear from the board, please, sir.
The most qualified person to answer that question, because I certainly can't give you an answer, nor could he or she or whatever.
No, the select board of selectmen.
I'm going to allow Carter to speak on the matter. Correct.
This does not change the Carter Terenzini, Town Administrator. This does not change current language, and it does not need any additional authority, because it continues on to say that I'll act by and for the board in any manner in which the board may assign the town administrator related to the administration of affairs of the town. So they decide what powers they want to let me exercise, whether it's appointing, disciplining, contracts, putting things out to bid, and I have to operate within that delegation and the policies that they establish. So there's no additional authority being devolved onto the town administrator.
Mr. Moderator. Further discussion, yes, go ahead.
If she wants to hear it from the select board, I'd not only concur with the TA, and I'm speaking as the select board chair, or board of selectmen chair, that we understand that that does not cede him any more authority. When we grant certain motions during our business meetings, we give him that authority specifically. This just reinforces that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion?
I have a question. Amanda Susan Memorial Street. I have a question and it's one I brought up. Why are we, dissolving the Veterans Advisory Board? Article 12. Article 12. I think one more slide.
Again, I will let somebody else more qualified to answer that question.
Concerning the,
Yes, Jeff Bennett, 77 Bottsville Road. Concerning the Veterans Advisory Board, I put that forward for several reasons. One, it's not required under the law. It is if you are in a regional veterans board, which the town of Templeton once was. When you go to your own veterans agent, they have no authority. It's really just an advisory board. They don't set the budget, they don't set the hours, they can't tell the veteran agent to do anything. I spoke with some members who are on that Veterans Advisory Board. I also spoke to the veterans agent. They were in favor of this. It will take away the bureaucratic stuff that they fall under. Gotta post a meeting, gotta keep minutes, gotta do this, gotta do that. They don't really have any authority other than to meet with the veterans agent. My thought, and agreement with those personnel, is it will free the veterans to meet whenever, whoever's there, call up the veterans agent, say, hey, this is a concern of the town's veterans, this is a group who want to do this, that, and it does away with all the bureaucratic stuff. And it's one less bylaw everybody has to keep track of. And like I said, the veterans agent and current members of the Veterans Advisory Board are in favor of doing this. Does that answer your question?
That answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Joseph?
Maria Barnes, Wellington Road. I'm just wondering how much it would cost us if we wanted to have a copy of the annual reports printed out, as seems to be indicated under Article 8.
this bylaw was adopted in around 1955, and we probably had 6 or 7 pages of bylaws. They have been printed to date in booklet form. However, it's grown from those 6 or 7 pages to approximately 300 pages that go into a binder. They're fairly expensive, $50 plus or minus to create them. They're online. We do have one in the town clerk's office. We have one at the library. Should anyone want one, we'd be more than happy to prepare one for them and charge them that cost. But this relieves us of the obligation to pre-print some of these and have them on the counter for folks who might want them.
Further discussion? Yes.
I'm sorry, folks. Liz Toth, 141 Gray Road. I have a concern about it just being on the website because in the past we've had problems with the website not being correctly updated and maintained over the years. And if you have a paper copy, you can have a paper copy. There's less apt to have difficulties. So I would recommend against it. And with these all together, I guess that means no to all of them. So thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, further discussion? Further discussion?
favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, so that is going to pass, including Article 10 by a 2/3 vote at 8:01 p.m.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
I move that Articles 25 and 26 be considered in one motion and that those articles are, as those articles are printed in the warrant, can be postponed indefinitely.
Second.
Motion is second, advisory committee. Advisory committee, yes. I'm sorry.
The advisory committee recommends these articles be passed over.
Mike. Okay, so I just want some clarification, try to be fair about this.
Mr. Moderator, Mike Curry, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. In the interest, in the same vein that the advisory committee wanted to reduce the amount of time that we were going to be in this auditorium, we had to look at the citizen petition articles as well. Because there would be the same sentiment to postpone indefinitely. So you notice in Article 25 and 26, if they were submitted, they are citizens petitions for fluoride warning on water bills and fluoride legislation. I spoke with not only Peter Farrell, but his wife, Julie. Julie was in here earlier. We discussed with the Farrells that the difficulty in making the motion here tonight, which she's not able to do, we were going to then make this motion to postpone indefinitely, and then the Board of Selectmen, on a good faith effort, would place their articles on the fall town meeting. So it would not say, it would say presented by the Board of Selectmen as previously submitted for the annual town meeting by Peter Farrell. So this is a good thing that we worked with them to do.
Just for clarification, there's no further work that they have to do, no further obligations from their end.
That is correct.
Okay.
Or
I understand.
they would have to go back to 0, and the fall town meeting has different signature requirements. So they were very amenable to this process by which we would help them given this situation.
I just want to clarify again, I want to be fair on both sides. Okay, further discussion? Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? So that's unanimous at 8:05 p.m.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Mr. Moderator, I move that Article 27, as printed in the warrant, be postponed indefinitely.
Second.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I have a motion and second. With the signature on it. Okay.
The advisory committee's recommendation was to pass over this article to fall.
Thank you. So I would say further discussion, maybe you want to say the same as.
Yes, Mr. Moderator, Mike Curry, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. We reached out, the I, on behalf of the board, reached out to Stephen Drury, who has this article about town meeting quorum. He is not here. He knew he was not going to be here, so we are extending the same courtesy to make sure that he is able to place his article on the fall town meeting. I got a rather long email back about it, but we are taking care of it.
Further discussion? Further discussion on Article 27? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Mr. Moderator, 8:07 PM. Mr. Moderator, point of order. Sure, just 1 second. Yes, point of order.
May I have the floor for a brief second? It's advisory committee related.
I'm sorry, just.
It's advisory committee related, just the floor for like 30 seconds.
Yes.
Okay, first, the advisory committee is for you, we're a board of 7 people. This year, we have 2 people that have decided to no longer continue. So I want to publicly thank Mr. Robert May and Mr. Lee Guthrie for their service to the town. At this time, as far as I know, I haven't talked to Holly, I don't think she's here. We have 2 openings. We've canceled our meeting for tomorrow night. If you're interested in the board, and you know anybody that might be interested in the committee, you can fill out an interest form, and if it's within the next 30 days, the moderator can appoint you. If after that, then the town would, but we certainly need people, fresh minds to help with what we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I accept the motion to resolve the meeting, I would just kindly, and when we're ready to go, again, try to keep the mask on if possible, try to keep social distancing. We were going to dismiss like by rows and things like that. I think there's people here that can use the exits appropriately. Just try to safely, socially distance between yourself. There's no rush. I understand we're done. I get it. Okay, but again, just try to use all the caution on the way. Hey, yep. Actually, we can go this way too. So like you guys in the front, sure, that's no problem. I'll accept a motion to resolve the meeting.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on it? All in favor of dissolving the meeting signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Anybody opposed? Meeting is dissolved at 8:09 PM. Thank you very much.
I haven't seen you in forever. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Amanda, for running.